What's up, guys? I'm super excited for today's show as we are joined by Eddie, the CEO of Investacard. I know many of you guys know him already, but I wanted to sit down and discuss how his new sports card advanced product, because I believe that it's going to be something major for the industry. So, Eddie, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on. And we are live from Investacard here. Yes, in our Fort Lauderdale offices, and been looking forward to speaking with you. I enjoy all your content, and it's great to be on here. So
I appreciate that, man. So before we get into talking about your advance, what's your background? What did you do before the hobby, and what made you motivated to start Investacard in the first place?
yeah, so I was always, a collector, even at a young age. And I started collecting cards probably at the age of 10 or 11. Got my first top set, 1984 top set from my niece that was working at Topps Company. We went over one holiday dinner, and she gave me a gift, and it was an 84 top set, and was hooked ever since. So collected card as a young child, and then me being the young entrepreneur, I started to buy and sell at shows and become a dealer. And then eventually, as I got older, I started to promote my own shows. So I actually was promoting card shows at malls down here in South Florida. So always been a collector, especially of the vintage cards. Prior to, Investacard, I was in the finance space. I ran a small business funding company where we helped small businesses grow all over the country, companies that couldn't get lending or loans or capital from banks, for one reason or another, whether it's because, not enough time in business, or maybe their credit, or, they just didn't have enough sales. We helped them grow. And I did that for about 10 years until I exited the company and sold it to sort of, a hedge fund. And I entered back into the sports cards probably in like 2018, as I started to read up on where the industry was, where the hobby was going. I saw some really big sales, and since I had adult money, I was able to buy some cards that I could never have dreamed of, owning, especially on the vintage card side. So I entered it back in 2018 and saw an opportunity to maybe grow another platform with some ideas that I had. And I think with the other company, I was at the end there where I was ready to move on as an entrepreneur with the next venture in my life. The opportunity came to sell the company, which I did. Prior to the finance company, like I said, I've always been an entrepreneur. I owned a self-serve fast food chain that I built up from scratch as well. And then before that, I even had a wholesale and retail perfume distribution, retail stores, as well as big wholesale, to where we sold to like chain stores like Marshalls and TJ Maxx. So always been an entrepreneur. But in early 2019, I was at a show. I was looking from afar, and I said, "There's some opportunity here in the sports card hobby, and I'm going to build another platform. I've got some ideas, and here's where we stand right now."
Yeah. So leading into the advance, what kind of things was Investacard doing?
Our main, one of the services that we provided was we were looking to help collectors and investors monetize on like a lot of these raw cards that were, sitting around where they really didn't know, how to sell them or how to get them graded, because just at that time, grading was really starting to take off. So I wanted to create a service where we could help collectors and investors take their card, send it to us. We would catalog it. We would get it graded, cover all the cost, service it, market it, and sell it, and pay, and all with like, an automated sort of process, like a portal where they didn't have to do anything, full reporting, full transparency. That was a big part of our platform business for the first year and a half. But as you know, with the whole grading, what went on with the grading, it sort of, hurt that side of the business. If we can't get cards back from grading companies, we can't generate sales for us, as well as the customers that we were signing up. So it was very tough to service. And I didn't want to be just in a situation every day where I was just selling disappointment and I couldn't control my own destiny. And at the same time, when I first started this business, I wanted to actually start it with the finance product, but I went sort of with the retail servicing side of business. Since then, obviously, we've had to unwind that part or sort of pause that part because can't get cards back. So I had to pivot and turn to Rubik's Cube and create other services that we can generate revenue with.
Yeah, because you guys obviously
and solve a problem.
Yeah. Because you guys obviously go to a ton of shows, right? You're right there in the center of the hobby, seeing what everybody's doing, what everybody needs. So what was that catalyst that made you say we need to do the advanced product now?
I think, it's a good question. Whenever I'm at shows, I'm always looking from afar, and I started to see, less and less liquidity at these shows because we also, are buying and selling at the shows, and that's how we did it. We used to sell a lot on our live shows, but I didn't want to just be in a buying and selling business, where it was just solely predicated on just buying something and selling something. I wanted to do something different, and that's why the finance, when I had the history in finance, and it's where my passion is as well. I saw a lot of, not a lot of liquidity within the last year at the shows, a lot more trading. And when somebody was trying to sell something, the dealer didn't have the cash to buy it, and he's willing to do. And a lot of these big deals that I saw were a lot of big trades involved, especially ones that were posted on Instagram, but also on a smaller level as well. And the reason for that is I think people were just holding on to their cards, or they were holding on to them too long, and maybe they should have sold them when they were at a peak, but then they didn't, and then they dropped, and now they don't want to sell them at the low, so they're caught in between. Where I saw an opportunity where if they could take their card and pull equity out of that card and put that money into the marketplace and still own 100%, then that made sense, even though it was going to cost them a little bit. That's how that came about, and I think that there's a huge opportunity to help fuel the hobby with liquidity with this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that grading your cards was a simple make money easy process, and that's why I think over the last couple of years people took all of their money buying raw cards. They sent them over to PSA, and they're thinking in their head, I'm going to get my cards back in 3 months. I'm going to triple my money. Problem is, everybody had the same exact idea, and all these people took all of their money buying raw cards, and they're waiting for their orders at PSA still. And the problem is for a lot of these people that a lot of those PSA 10 slabs over the summer, in the winter, they're not selling for the same prices. So now a lot of people are sitting in a situation where they don't have cash, right? They're probably sitting on slabs and they don't know what to do. They don't want to sell the cards they have, and they don't have new cash to enter more money into the market.
100%. I mean, you sort of nailed it. And it's a big part of what's going on right now. A lot of people are in that situation. So I think that with our, product or service, maybe we can bridge that gap, to a certain extent. There's another probably, who knows how many more million slabs that are going to hit the market, over the course of the next, 6 to 12 months. And what's that going to look like and a lot of those slabs, yes, those low range slabs have gone down 50, 60, 70, some, over 80%. But, wherever there's opportunity, people are going to flock to, right? It was easy, like you said, to buy a card for $20, get it graded, have it gem out and make 5X on it or 6X or even more on it. I think we're all guilty of it, and me, myself, running a platform where our goal was to take in as many cards as we could. That was our business, right? Maybe somewhere in the model that we had, we didn't plan for a company shutting down operations and stopping business. It's tough to put that in your pro forma, right? It's tough to put that and project on that, and that a company is going to shut down not only one company but all the companies.
Yeah.
What business can operate that way? What business and what other industry where we ask for a service and we can't get that service and you have to wait 9 months, 10 months? What if we brought our car into a auto mechanic and it was supposed to be done in 10 days, but it wasn't done for 8 months?
Yeah.
So you can never predict random, human behavior in these aspects. And it was tough for us to because we were building a pretty good business. We were, servicing a lot of customers, and we had something good because we were able to help people monetize on their low-end cards, and we provided income. We paid over $500,000 in commissions year to date. That money went to people that were sitting around with cards that either paid their bills with, they bought something new with, they took a vacation with. These are the stories that I hear that people. So that whole grading thing of shutting down sort of hurt not only hurt our business, but it hurt a lot of other of the 200 or so or more partners that were sending us cards.
Yeah. So for the people here that don't yet know about, your advanced product, maybe heard about it a little bit, but they're confused about it, they don't really understand it. How would you explain what your advanced product is?
If I was sitting in an elevator with someone and I had to give them a quick elevator pitch, we give the ability for a collector or an investor to leverage their sports cards to take cash out of it to use for other opportunities and still own 100% of their card.
Yeah. And how long has this service been out so far?
So we went live with it. It's been about a couple of months now, even though we've been testing it, sort of beta testing it privately behind the scenes with some of our better customers, right, that we have really good relationships with. But we went live with it about 2 months ago, and it gets busier and busier each and every day as we educate more. And I think that's the key, educating them on our service and why it's good for in certain situations for certain people and why it may not be good for for others.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I do think that there are some specific examples that getting an advance right now makes a ton of sense. I know we were talking earlier. I think if you own somebody like Anthony Davis right now, Ronald Acuna, guys that are superstars, if you own their expensive cards, their rare cards, and you don't have cash at the moment, if you sell those cards right now, you may never be able to get your hands on those again. And you might be looking at the card market right now, and you could own Ronald Acuna, like I just said. Baseball season doesn't happen until the spring. You don't want to sell that card because when you want to buy back into it, it might be triple the price. So you could then put that card, give it to you guys, and then you can now look at the basketball season, say, I think there's tons of opportunity over the next few months. You make flips in the basketball card market, and when the baseball season comes, you still own your Ronald Acuna card. So I guess my question to you is, based on your customers so far, the positive feedback, I know tons of people have been loving the product. What have been some situations that it's made people really excited to get involved?
I think one of the main things is them being able to still own the card 100%, right? And just like you said, they might be holding a rare card, low pop card, and they may never have an opportunity to buy that card again. And if they do, they're going to have to, ante up, where in this case, it takes the pressure off them. And I think there's added value in that, where you don't have to sell one of those valuable cards or low populated cards to get into another card, because you may never see that card again. And I think that's the key thing, being able to keep 100% of the equity, take capital out, and use it however you need to, use it to earn profits with.
Yeah, because I know this whole thing is about, giving people the cash to be able to, make other plays in the hobby. And I know you guys have been going to shows, telling people about your guys' product. And I know you have something cool to share about the fact of how this is going to get even better.
Yeah, we've been working on that. Obviously, we've done a couple of shows where we funded live at the shows, where you can come up within a couple of minutes, we can approve it. We can do an analysis on the card and, go over the numbers with you within a couple of minutes and, send you the agreement electronically. We do a live bank verification through a company called Plaid right there at the show. It takes about a minute, and then the deal is funded. If we were doing a show on Friday, obviously it was good because we could, Friday's usually a day where, a lot of dealer deals, right? Not as many people come into the show on Friday. It's more Saturday and Sunday. So at the shows, we were funding via, same day ACH, right? But we just worked out details on our side where now, if on any future shows that we go to, we're going to be able to fund with cash. And I think that's going to be a huge incentive with our product, and more added value to where we can really fuel the market floor, right? Because if you got a deal that you can buy the same day, and you can use cash as leverage with the dealer or with that person, it's going to go a long way. So we'll be able to fund with cash just by, the borrower signing just an addendum to the agreement stating that they receive cash, at that show on that date. And I think it's, for us, it gives us a huge advantage to now generate even more customers. And the goal is to put money onto the sales floor, right? Onto the marketplace floor, whether we're in Dallas, whether we're in Chicago, in Nashville, in Miami, or in Boston, or wherever. Come and put money on the market floor. And I think it's good for the dealers. It's good for the promoter. It's good for the customers that are utilizing the service. So yes, we're going to be able to now fund with cash, and hopefully we'll have a lot of cash to put out if we get the deals.
Yeah, this would have been a product that people would have loved at the National, because I know when I was there were people running around with slabs, and they were willing to sell these cards to dealers at 60% comps, 70% comps, because they just had no cash, right? So now with you guys at shows, these people can give the cards to you, still have 100% equity in the card, and then they can now have cash to make additional plays, which I think is going to be massive. So I guess for people who, don't understand the process of how the advance works. So let's just say someone walks up to your table at a show, they want to do the advance, what's the process of you approving them, and then how they would pay back the advance?
Yeah. So, if they have a, 2003 Topps Chrome LeBron James PSA 10, and that's the card that they're interested in, knowing how the whole, service works. We do a market analysis on the card really quickly. That's done through our internal system here with our partnership through Cardbase. Cardbase is a third-party company that we bought into, that they track over 4 million cards, and they pull data down from, eBay, of course, and several other auction houses. And we utilize that real-time data, and on some cases we'll take the 30-day running average combined with like the last few sales to come up with our market number. In some cases, depending on the card, we might do a 90-day average with the last few sales. So we do a market value on a card, which is pretty close to what the card just sold for. And in some cases, if we really like the card, it might be even a little bit more, right? We come up with what the advance rate would be. So in that instance right there with the LeBron James Topps Chrome, just for round numbers, I think it's probably about a $15,000 card right now. If we were advancing, let's say 70% on that card, then the advance would be $10,500. It's an advance. It's not a loan. We're advancing off the market value of that card, and they're paying. There is no interest. We just charge a flat, what we call factor rate fee, and those factor rates range from like 1.12 to 1.18, but with the average being somewhere around 1.15. Well, let's call it 15%. So on a $10,000 advance, the payback would be like 11,500, because it would be 10,000 times 1.15. And so they're paying back, 11,500, no more, no less. It's costing them roughly $1,500 to utilize our capital over, let's say 24 weeks. And how we get paid back is on a weekly basis, that we automatically debit from their bank account on the day that they choose. And in that scenario right there, every payment goes towards the balance 100%. So in a matter of a couple of minutes, we can approve it and get it funded, and the funds would go into their account. And at the shows, obviously, now we can either fund it ACH, or if they don't want the cash, or if they want cash, we can fund it with cash. Obviously, if it's a lead that comes in while we're not at a show, they would mail the card into us. Once we receive the card, the funds would go out the same day.
Yeah. And I think something that's really cool that you guys do is that if someone did advance a car with you, let's just say that card goes up in price, they could then sell the card with you. You guys would help them through that process.
Sure, obviously, another added value. It's their card. It's your card. You own it 100%. All we're doing is, advancing off of it. So, a percentage of our customers never want to sell their card, right? It's one of those guys, they have the card and they're not going to sell it, and you're not going to, talk them into selling it. And then you have the other part of the business where they would be opening to sell the card for the right price, right? It's someone that flips on a regular basis. He's buying and selling and stuff. And in those scenarios there, yes, you still have the opportunity to sell your card, even though it's sitting in our vault. And if you sell it on eBay or sell it to someone else, all you would do is send in the amount that's due on your balance. And we would even offer a service where we would drop ship that card to your customer, if you provide us with the information, or we can just, ship it back to you. Any overages after you pay it off would go back to you. You would own it, 100% of that.
Yeah, I think it's a clear process. I think, having you sit down and talk about it, I think it, it makes it easy to understand. But I would say, for the people that might be skeptical and stuff, what are some misconceptions about your advance you think that aren't fair, that you think, are pretty easy to, prove against?
People are always going to have, misconceptions when it comes to finance and, with money and stuff, right? The number one question is always whether you're going out to buy a car or a house or a boat or a new credit card, what's the interest rate? That's the number one question I always ask. And, the misconception is that there is no interest rate. It's not a loan, it's an advance. We charge a flat fee. And the reason for that is that there's no credit being pulled. It's not credit's not a factor, and there's no personal guarantee. And when you make your payments with a loan, in the beginning, a majority of your payments goes towards, the interest, and some of it goes towards the principal, where with our program, your payments are going towards your balance 100%. So I think that would be misconception when we say there's no interest rate, because people are not really maybe not familiar with an advanced type product where a factor rate, one flat cost product. And I think, the whole taking the card and holding the card, almost like, a lot of people say, well, it's almost like a pawn shop, right? And that would be, some people might look at it as a negative thing, but we're far from, acting like a pawn shop, because first thing is you can't even bring your cards into a pawn shop. They're not going to advance you money off them. And if they do, you're never going to get the right market value. You want to deal with a company that does this every day. This is what we do as our business. We invest in data companies to track proper market value. We go out and bring capital in to fuel, the hobby. We manage a lot of cards. We do this every day. We have the experience in this. And I think the flexibility that we offer is far from, a pawn shop, because if you bring your item or asset to a pawn shop, you can't sell it, right? You can't still have the opportunity to sell that. Where with our product, you still have that opportunity, because you own 100% of it, and we make you more like a partner, not just dropping it off in a pawn shop. So I think that would be one of the other misconceptions.
Yeah. I think looking from, what you've done in the industry over the last few years, I've been following it, and I think you've been at all the shows, right? You see what people want. You're part of the industry. You know what people need. You know what, is good for the hobby. And I genuinely believe that you're doing this because you see a need in the market and it's helping people. I know people that have used your product and stuff, and it's helped. So the last question I have for you before I let you go is, if someone's listening right now and they say, I want to get this, I want to be a part of it, how would someone go about it? I know that you could do it at major shows, but how else would people be able to get this advance?
Yeah, obviously at one of our shows that we're at, or by just going to investacard.com and clicking the sports card advance button. You can fill out the little form there, and then automatically that information goes into our system, and one of us would reach out, one of our funding agents would reach out. In some cases I might reach out personally myself, right? I think it's important for me to to speak to as many customers as I can, especially for the first few hundred customers, just so we can educate and know that, we're not just a company that has, sales reps, but you can actually speak to the CEO. So Investacard.com. You can find us on Instagram, obviously, by sending us a DM. The easiest route is to, go to Investacard, fill out the form, someone will contact you, or, you can send us pictures on Instagram of cards that you're interested. We need to see the picture, and then we would put it into the evaluation process pretty quick. So, and any other, questions that they might have. This is about us being fully transparent, right? Any questions, any concerns, we want to answer them. You can find a frequent asked questions on Investacard.com, which goes through a lot of different scenarios. Whether the market is up, what happens? What happens if the market is down? If I want to sell my card and the market is down and there's not enough money to pay off the advance, do I still owe you guys money? That's the other main question, and you don't. That's where we assume the risk. So the borrower doesn't. You're not going to get a collection letter. You're not going to get a a notice or an invoice. We chalk it up on our end as an L, and then we move on to the next deal. And that doesn't mean that because you gave us a card and it went down in value that you still can't use the service, right? You're not being banned from our platform or anything like that. Many times, for one reason or another, they don't want to maybe continue making their weekly payment. They raise their hand and say, just sell the card. So was a long-winded answer, but yes, Investacard.com. That's the easiest way.
Yeah. And the one thing, that I think everybody will realize from this is the transparency, right? You're the CEO of Investacard. I see you every single day on Instagram and stuff talking about this. You're front and center, happy to explain your service. And I think that's really good for the hobby.
Yeah. We've been trying, we did it in Nashville, and it's something that I want to continue to do at these shows, is run these educational panels. No one's doing them. And I just might create another brand just for that. And because I think it's important. I think it's super important for someone that's coming to the show. Yeah, it's great to buy and sell, but what about some education, whether it be on finance, whether it be on grading, whether it be on content creation or anything. We're going to continue to run these educational panels, as we call them, Investacard Live, since, everyone knows, the saying, we're live. So the panels are live, and I've got one planned for Dallas. If we go to Vegas, I'm going to try and plan one for there. And anybody that's out there that wants to speak on our panel, at any of our shows, reach out to us on a DM. We're looking for speakers, whether you're running a company or brand, or you're doing content creation or whatever. Reach out to us, because we've got a slew of these educational panels that we're going to really be rolling out for 2022.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So Eddie, I appreciate you coming on today to discuss the sports card advance. I think it was really insightful for myself. I think, our followers are really going to appreciate it. So if you guys want to check out the advance, we're going to have a link in the description of this video where they can go right to the Investacard website, get all the details, and make sure you check our Instagram out too, because we're going to have tons of additional content on that. So Eddie, I appreciate you.
Appreciate it, my man. Thanks. We'll speak to you soon.